Hi everyone. Thank you for joining us today. We'll give about 4 minutes for people to start trailing in, and then we can start the session with Martin. In the meantime, I'm going to put on this video for you to kind of get a bit of insight into what commune living and wellness is.
Hey, Tracy, what are you doing here? Wah, cik Pai kasih dia. Thank you, thank you, thank you. What have you been doing? Oh, like, I show you my secret place.
Begin your senior living journey with us. Let's live a happier, healthier life together.
Right, so that's a little sneak preview of our new project, Commune Living and Wellness. Hello again, everyone. Welcome to this webinar, Changing Mindsets, Misconceptions about Assisted Living. Thank you for spending some time with us today. My name is Christina, and I'm going to be your host. This webinar series, known as the Silver Circle by Commune Wellness, is an initiative to promote active aging and senior lifestyle. This is the first of what we hope to be of many more in the months to come. Through this series, we hope to engage with, we hope to connect with seniors to create a community that engages in current topics that relate to physical, emotional, and social well-being. Now, even though our focus here is on seniors, these sessions are also aimed at individuals planning for retirement, as well as children with aging parents. To celebrate the launch of our first ever webinar series, we're giving away a couple of prizes to a few lucky participants here today. So tune in for a chance to score these prizes from Commune Living Bangsar South. All you have to do is fill up the post-event form at the end of the webinar. I would like to share a few statistics on Malaysia's aging population to set the stage for the conversation today. Malaysia is seeing an upward trend in aged care in recent years, as many would know, and this can be attributed to the fact that our country is now an aging nation. The Department of Statistics Malaysia reported that the percentage of the population aged 65 years and above has increased from 6.7% to 7% in 2020. That's roughly 3.5 million people and growing. So at the current trajectory, those 65 and above are projected to double to 14% by 2044 and to 20% in 35 years, classifying Malaysia as a super aged nation. Thus, the demands and expectations of this aging population will be about promoting lifestyles that enable them to be in a better state of health, to age stronger and live longer. September is also known as the Healthy Aging Month, coincidentally, and there's no better time to get started on improving your aging practices. So, other than this session today, we also have a few other sessions coming up. So, check out our calendar of events on our website and social media. So very briefly, before we start, I would like to take this time to introduce to you to our latest development, Commune Living and Wellness, which you would have seen in the video earlier. It is the largest integrated co-living and wellness hub in Southeast Asia. With over 800 service suites, this co-living and wellness hub is designed to suit any type of lifestyle and level of medical care, tailoring to a wide spectrum of senior care, which includes independent, assisted, or daycare. There will also be a host of activities like this, organized in collaboration with our senior care partners, as we believe you should still be able to socialize and pursue hobbies, or even pick up new ones as you age. So at the core of this development are these three pillars you see before you, co-living, wellness hub, and senior care. Our wellness hub boasts over 65,000 square feet of medical, TCM, and wellness specialists to care for your health and well-being. Whereas our senior care features both, like I mentioned earlier, both senior living options, independent and assisted. So the co-living component here is what makes us stand out. So similar to the co-working business model, the senior co-living takes into account the critical balance between private and shared spaces. So here we focus on elders' well-being and care when needed, while creating space for them to be independent, where they can have a socially engaging life as individuals in an interesting setting close to other like-minded people with a regular stream of activities and events. We're opening our doors early 2022. Here's a sneak preview of what to expect. So not to take away too much of your time, you can reach out to us or find out more via our website. I will leave the QR code up for a few seconds for you to scan on your mobile devices or even take down our contact information here. All good? Great. Moving on. So today we are joined by Martin Yap, CEO and founder of CARE Concierge, who will be taking us through the topic of misconceptions about assisted living. With over a decade of experience in the Malaysian senior care industry, Martin and his team has developed and operated award-winning facilities such as the mentioned assisted living in Petaling Jaya and Greenleaf Retirement Resort in Sepang. Martin is also a recipient of the Gujarati Top 50 Malaysia Entrepreneurs for the year 2020. He founded CARE Concierge, which promotes the concept of aging in place, and is today a pioneer in providing an option for seniors to age in the comforts of their home. CARE Concierge is also one of the selected winners for Khazanah Impact Innovation Challenge to further enhance the aging services, taking aged care to new heights that will be beneficial to all Malaysians. Recently, UAE Development entered into an agreement with CARE Concierge to jointly set up Commune Care, the caregiving business at Commune Living and Wellness. Just a little housekeeping before we get started. If you have any questions during the presentation, please type them into the Zoom Q&A chat box. We will bring them up at the end of the presentation, but failing which, we will try to reach out to you via email. Now, without further ado, we will turn the time over to the topic and discussion with Martin. So now, Martin, Right. We want to make senior living more exciting. We have
Mhm.
changed the perceptions, so we're here to debunk
Yes.
some of the popular stereotypes about assisted living. But before we get started, what is assisted living and how is it different from a nursing home?
Right. So thanks, Christina, for the lovely introduction. Today, I think to answer your question, what's assisted living and go into the misconceptions, maybe to start off with, I would like to go through what we call the entire elder care spectrum of care, which are the different stages that a senior goes through, and what are the options and I guess the type of conditions that it suits. So that helps to frame the conversation. So the first part is that you would have an independent person that's more about active living, and then you go into semi-dependent, which is where the assisted living, you need someone to care for you, and then goes to dependent, and palliative is more the end of life care. And so during these different stages, you actually have different types of, I guess, services that you look at. So in this diagram, basically you have home care for caregivers or someone of yourself to take care of the elderly at home. Then you've got daycare, and then those that come in, more like a club. And then assisted living is the one that is really much like a nursing home, but a much better version, as well as hospice and retirement village. Those are some of these segments, yes. So, yeah. So if we go to the next slide, perhaps to address this also is to understand where we are in the context of Malaysia. So the perception of nursing homes in Malaysia to begin with is something like what you see in these images, right? Usually they would term it as an old folks home. It's a squalid environment that you would see, that a lot of people be, the seniors would be staying together in kind of a condition that's maybe not so desirable. And also, there's not much focus on activities per se. Partly also because in this narrative as well, a lot of it is out of pocket, or conditions where it's very low rise homes. So it's mostly mom and pops converting some of these bungalows into makeshift nursing homes. So assisted living is a very, very different concept that looks at it in a very more structured way. So if you look at this image here, this would be an assisted living facility that's very different. It's very focused more on lifestyle and the kind of environment that you live in. So it's really a concept. And this center is actually one of the centers that we operate called the Mansion at Jalan Gasing. So it's really a very different environment that you're looking at. And that's how we frame assisted living. So if you can go to the next slide, per se. So in a very nutshell, how would we frame nursing home as opposed to assisted living? So I would normally talk about it as in nursing home as an old folks home here, where there's minimal to non-medical assistance. So we talk about having a caregiver that takes care of you, and as much as services as provided. There's minimal to non-private spaces that you can, so it's a lot about sharing, partly because of the resources available. It is a bit high density and less focused on the kind of activity. So they might have exercises, but that might be it. Or, watching TV and not really engaging. So we're trying to frame it as assisted living is very different than that center. It's also structured so that you have professional nurses, therapists, and caregivers, and having, structured care plans for each individual. It's also designed for the lifestyle components of it. So it's all about building community and also engaging, seniors to live their best lives in a better center per se. And also these recreational activities are something that also are structured and as well as, enjoyed. So we talk about having occupational therapists that also helps them with their, in terms of their experiences. So that's in a bit of a nutshell. Yeah. Okay, so these are actually the images to show and convey the difference. And you can see it's a very positive environment, right? So we would have professional caregivers and nurses that will check on vitals. The idea about assisted living also is that it's about having the security and safety while enjoying your life, right? So the lifestyle environment is important, but having the ability to be secure and comforted by that. And so you see in the images, and these are some of the activities we do in the mansion, is that they do things of interest. You see the aunties and uncles, doing learning how to do flowers, arrangements, and things like that. So it's really about that kind of concept, and in a beautiful environment.
Cool.
So here's a video of the kind of environment we're talking about. It's very different from, the kind of squalid environment. It's open spaces. You see out, you get connected to the environment. And then you have a community of people having, they're having their meals there, but having professional care at the same time. This is also actually a video of our center in section 14, where we actually purpose-built this design based on this concept of assisted living, so ALU. Yeah.
Great.
Yeah.
Okay, now that we've sort of figured that out, let's go through some of the common misconceptions and see how we can sort of reframe the narrative. So I'll get started. The first one being, this is usually very top of mind and perhaps stems from the perception that the children would be seen as unfilial if they send their parents to such a place. Is it wrong to put my parents in a nursing home?
Yeah, so this is a question that sometimes it permeates in the minds of the children, especially if they make a decision of sending their parents to the nursing home. So I think the first thing is that there is no right or wrong. It really depends on the condition as well as it really depends on many condition situation. But maybe to frame this conversation, I think the first thing also is to note in our culture, especially the Asian culture, is that we are educated and we have this idea about being filial piety, right? So that we have a responsibility to take care of our parents and give them the best care as possible. And so sometimes that also comes with some of the responsibilities of the ability that you need to take care of your parents. And therefore, there's a lot of sense of weightness about being a caregiver yourself and taking it on your own. So this also asks another question is that, do you feel that, sending a parent to a nursing home means that that responsibility is off your chest? And are you willing to actually get some help on this? That's probably the first question before we even think about what are the options available. And the answer is that it is very difficult to take care, again, depending on conditions, right? So if you have a parent or a loved one that, had stroke or, is going through an onset of Alzheimer's, it is a very difficult situation. It's important to open up on that question to see if there are options available. And so then the second question is that, is it wrong to put my parents into a nursing home? It really depends on the kind of resources you have, as well as if you were to look at a nursing home, as we mentioned, as old folks home, as opposed to assisted living, then the options are a bit clearer. That let's say you want to talk about the environment and also giving the best to your parents, then an assisted living facility goes towards it. So it's more about the mind frame to ask for these options and then to seek for it, and to see that there are actually options available that are more conducive for our parents.
Got it. Shall I move on to the next myth?
Yeah, sure.
So mom and dad will have no privacy and no freedom. So I think this is rooted in the perception that assisted living equates to compact living conditions and most of the spaces are shared.
Yeah, so mom and dad have no privacy and freedom. It also boils down to, I think the key word in this manner is about the freedom and also choice, the ability to choose. It comes down to, I guess, the fundamentals of, having the dignity and respect and freedom to choose what you want to do, which is a very important part. So when we frame it as in looking at a ALU and assisted living, where it is actually a right for you to to have that freedom of choice, then it's about having to design the space that we have, your own particular room per se. You have spaces for you to contemplate. I think it's important to understand is that as particularly ourselves, we go through emotions that go up from the top and highs and the lows, and we should be able to express ourselves in this manner and in a comfortable environment. What's also important about this is the connection, right? Having the ability to choose, and that's where coming to community building, right? It's also about sense of community and connecting to others. So if you are going through, you have the ability to mix with people and build that community, but at the same time, if you need to have the privacy, you're able to do that. So if you frame it as a nursing home per se, and you don't have those spaces, then it becomes a bit more difficult. Whereas if we design it purposely for this spaces, you have both the best of both worlds. And also another thing about family members, we, again, as an Asian culture, it's very important to have that connection, right? So having the ability to frequently meet them, and also they have the ability to go out. So it is a place that you do not just, if it is ALU, you can actually go out and enjoy. And we have excursions outside as well. So you have the freedom to actually do exactly what you want. But the key here is that there is always a support there, so you are safe and taken care of. Yeah.
Great. So moving on to the next one. Mom spends all day staring at the TV screen. So this is quite a common one. At the mention of nursing home, people usually visualize a group of elder citizens in front of the TV screen.
Yeah. Yes. So this in a way addresses, it's not, so I guess watching TV is nothing wrong in that sense. But this also goes towards understanding that this is in a way a one-way conversation, right? So for mom to watch TV all the day also means that they're not very much engaged. And I think this also means that it has to be planned and structured, so that it's all about, in a sense, this is the component about having a community or having a sense of activities. So the first thing is that engagement is about building relationships together. So there's a two-way conversation. That's how we look at building communities of interest, or even anything that we want to talk about, right? A good example would be the traditional ways that you go to a coffee shop, the kopitiam, right? And then you have a great discussion and talks, and those things are missing if you don't build that in. Right, so that's why it's also interesting to look at it from having interests. It may not be a very going deep into the interest, but it's about the very fact that you're engaging. So you can play mahjong, you can enjoy a club. We have singing, having to be part of a choir. This really helps to actually build that kind of sense of connection. And so then you will notice most of the time you won't actually be so interested in watching TV anymore. And this actually happens to a lot of our residents per se, is that the minute they start engaging, that actually starts a better conversation in a sense. So that also helps with stimulation of mind, and I guess, prioritize about companionship would be very important here. Yeah.
Great. So on to our final one. My parents will lose their freedom of choice. I think this sort of relates to the second myth that you brought up, and also one of the biggest fears related to life in senior living communities. So the thought of losing their freedom, choice, independence, and control, because it is as if they relegate those responsibilities 100% to the caregivers.
Absolutely. So this is also a very big fear. I think it comes back, as you mentioned, Christina, about the second point, is that, as parents, or any senior per se, it's about the dignity and respect to actually be able to make your own decisions. And this is well respected considered in ALU, right? It's also important to actually get the buy-in as well with family and friends, mostly family actually, that important decisions are made together, so that they're always, so again, it comes back to the conditions. If you're independent in terms of decision making, it's always important to have the freedom of choice. And certainly if you have any decisions, even as you continue on, it's important to have that transparency, and it's all about communication. So as we build our facilities and operate it, these are very important points that we continuously think about, that you don't lose that freedom of choice per se, right? And its ability to do whatever you want to do, right? Again, as we are there to support and care for them. As a protection, yeah. So I think probably those are the 5 myths to debunk. What I can then do is maybe talk a little bit about why we talked about this assisted living as well. Is it comes back to commune care in a sense, right? This leads into what we talk about assisted living facility. That it's an aspirational concept that we believe it's about lifestyle. So this is commune care really is about assisted living facility that has your own private suites. It has this holistic senior living by the park. Just to take on that point, if you go to the site, it is a beautiful park that you are just connected to it, and have beautiful views as well. And at the same time, you also have the professional nurses, therapists, and caregivers. That would be a team that we run together with our technology, with our apps, and also focus on daily activities. So things like festive celebrations, today like Mooncake Happy Mid-Autumn Festival for those celebrating, and it's all done in professionally with occupational therapists and entire team. Yes.
Wonderful. So I think that wraps up our discussion for today. We will turn. Sorry, let me just put up the screen again one more time. The QR code to scan into Commune Care. And if you want to take down any details down here. Okay, so now that we're sort of wrapped up, we will turn the time over to the next part of the webinar. Hopefully, the crowd favorite as well, the Q&A.
Okay.
We'll pick out some of the questions that you have submitted throughout the session, and we'll hopefully get Martin to address those for you. Great. So let me just go through the questions real quickly. So we've got one here from Florence Young, who's asking, what about food provided to the old folks? Customized based on nutrition guide?
Yes. So to address the food, for our services as well, it's about, of course, having your breakfast, lunch, and dinner. And it's important to look at nutrition and dietary needs, definitely. So that goes hand in hand by us having also a dietitian that depends on the kind of the food and also the kind of importance of nutrition, right? So again, it really depends also on the condition of a particular resident per se. We normally tailor make it during a care plan, but it also has to be good food. I think what we need to make sure is that in dietary needs, it also has to be an element of enjoyment as well. So food is an important part, but for us, we actually have 4 meals, right? So breakfast, lunch, and dinner, and the tea time. That is pretty much about good Asian culture food.
Great. So I've got another one here from Kim. Yeah, I hope I said it right. It's a little bit quite lengthy. So it says here,
Okay.
the center assures elderly stays with them are being taken care emotionally. My late grandpa was sent to nursing home and he felt that we abandoned him. Every day we have to visit him to assure him that we care for him. We found out that he didn't take his medication and have lots of emotions in him when he's staying at nursing home.
Okay, that's a good question. I think it's important. So it depends on also the way that the philosophy of the nursing home or the assisted living facility, right? The first thing is that it's also important to have that connection with the family and also to have an understanding with the parents, that they are staying together and it's not abandonment. And so usually when we move in, we would make sure that family members are partly explaining this, that they have a buy-in and they understand the conditions of going inside there. And so it comes back to a lot also about the activities that you do, the kind of community building that you have, right? We have residents that were a little bit reluctant, but once they got into the understanding of community, they make friends and things, it's very different. And of course, it also is very subjective on the conditions they have. But one thing to point out is that we have this, we also are built with a technology app that allows us to keep it transparent, where you would have daily vitals, conditions, and tasks that are updated constantly in our system. So therefore, family members, whether or not, even if you're here or in Malaysia or international, you're able to check on them. So that gives you the sense that every day, that you can see what are the conditions, and that also keeps you connected and being part of the process as well. Yeah.
Great. So probably go around, get 2 to 3 more questions. Okay, so here from an anonymous attendee, my mom is an introvert, hence, what is your thought of her living in this type of community? I'm just worried that she would feel overwhelmed by the crowd and would not be able to fit in. Would like to hear your thoughts. Thanks.
Sure. So it's important that any resident that comes in, I think they have to also We also have to structure it in a sense that, for introverts or extroverts, there will be, you have the ability to choose what you need to do, right? At your own pace, at your own time. We have activities daily, and it goes from different things like we can play mahjong, we can have music, and things like that, or exercises. But you also have the ability not to go for them if you don't feel the need to do that, because again, it comes to your comfort level. So therefore, it comes to also the spaces that you can choose. So if we had, for example, our spaces also have, contemplations spaces where you have your own library, can your own, in your own time. So really, it's about being comfortable in that space, and we adapt to that too. So if you don't feel comfortable about doing things like activities, then you just take it at your own time. Having said that, to also add on to that, I think part of that emotional part comes also with having our team that are very much connected. Again, it comes back to also your connection with the family, but we also have our therapists as well to help you engage. So we have what we call a relationship manager that helps you go through this entire process of being comfortable in that. So it's important to be comfort, and again, you would have many options depending on what you need to be part of it.
Okay, yeah, I think that helps because it's a really big change, and then they sort of like need to get oriented into the new condition that you're living in, I suppose.
Absolutely. So it's a lot of working together, hand-holding in a sense, until you're comfortable. And even as such, it's your choice as well. So how much you want to participate, or at what time, it's up to you as well. Yeah.
Great. So here's another one from Anonymous. The community living, for those living in the community, senior living community, are they allowed to venture out on their own? Then if they are sorry, let me try to read this question again. For those living in the senior living community, are they allowed to venture out on their own if they are physically fit and independent?
Yes. So to answer that question, I guess is a resounding yes. But the first thing important to us is your safety and care. So if you're an independent person, so therefore you have the ability to go out and to interact. Definitely, I think the idea is that we're here if you need the care, but we do check in on you if you need to as well. So part of that technology part is that you do have this call alert button. You have an app in case you need any of these services. Or you need someone to follow you, let's say to a hospital or go shopping per se, we have that companion that comes along with you as well. So it really, that's in a sense that the idea is that we're there when you need it, but you have the independence to go out, but as long as we check on you. And for those that, let's say, need, from assisted living point of view, that, you might be in a wheelchair, you might need more assistance, we can tailor make it as well so that you have that freedom of choice.
That's cool. So it's safety end to end.
Safety end to end, yes.
Probably I'll take one more question. So from Greg Ho. Hi, Martin. How do you cater to someone with Alzheimer or dementia and physically immobile too?
Okay, this is a great question. So coming back to the different conditions, usually as when a resident comes in, and this is mostly focused on ALU as the assisted living part, right? We normally have an assessment and a care plan for individual personalized needs. So there are certain conditions, for example, Alzheimer's, and there are different stages per se, and we tailor make it to the kind of care and also the activities that you do. Because it is also different conditions also mean that there are different activities. So maybe to explain, for example, if someone is having Alzheimer's per se, we would have a different cognitive and activities that are catered towards that group. So we actually have different activities for different groups, and we work it as such.
Great. I think that is all the questions that we have. Let me just do one more quick sweep and then see all of the day. Yeah, no, I think we're pretty much done with the questions. Thank you so much, Martin, for being here today to debunk some of the common misconceptions about assisted living. And thank you to those who have attended this webinar. We hope the information provided here today has been beneficial to you. The slides will be sent to you after the event, and you can also access a recording of the webinar on our website and social media platforms, where you can also learn about commune living and wellness. Here's a quick plug. Make sure to also check out our next session happening on Thursday, 23rd September with Hong Sin Tang. Registration is still open if you would like to sign up for that. And don't forget to fill out the post-event form right after this. You will stand a chance to win a free one-night stay with breakfast at Commune Living Bangsar South or F&B vouchers to be used at Commune Cafe Bangsar South. Right, so I think that wraps up the day. Until then, have a great week ahead and stay safe. Thank you, Martin.
Thank you. Thanks, Christina. Thank you, everyone. Appreciate it.